This call is being recorded.
Welcome to your daily writing habit. If you are writing a book or thinking about it, or maybe you started writing your book but you need some help getting it done, you are in the right place. Good morning. Happy Writer Wednesday, everyone. I'm your host, Christine Whitmarsh. If you're looking for me online, look for Christine Inc., I-N-K, like that stuff we write with. Each day, I'm sharing with you the writing habits I've learned over my 21 years as a ghostwriter, book coach, and author. I have found that three things in particular have a huge impact on your success as an author, and they even have the ability to turn someone who barely sees themselves as a writer into a published book author. Those three things, my pillars here on the show, are writing fundamentals, productivity, and mindset habits. And once again, good morning, everyone. Here today on Your Daily Writing Habit to share the latest and greatest in breaking news from the audiobook space is an expert in that space, Kris Keppeler. Here is more about Kris. Kris Keppeler is a narrator, actor, voice actor, podcaster, and writer. After discovering her singing voice in junior high choir, she's never quit using her voice to amuse and instigate. She has impersonated a cat, a prince, a princess, an anteater, a dragon, and a president, I wonder which one, with her voice, and narrated and produced over 50 audiobooks. She narrates and produces an award-winning weekly storytelling podcast about life and befuddlement. Visit her IMDb page for her stage and screen credits. Welcome, Kris.
Thanks so much, Christine. I am excited to be here.
Yeah, this is fun, and I'll make sure to get from you your IMDb page so I can put that in the show notes for everybody today. And
thank you.
Are you allowed to say which president you've impersonated with your voice?
Actually, it was a imaginary one. Yes.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. How did you do that? Interesting. So let's start with the story of how singing in junior high choir somehow led to a career as a narrator, actor, voice actor, podcaster, and writer. So how did that curvy path go?
I got, after junior college, I got tired of singing in choir. It got kind of boring standing up there in a black dress, squeezed, in with a bunch of other people. It's like, oh, this is boring. And then a blind date took me to a Gilbert and Sullivan production. And on the back of the program, it said, we're looking for chorus members. And I thought, well, that might be more exciting than standing around in a black dress. And so I auditioned, and in their next production, which was Iolanthe, I was a fairy.
There you go.
And it was, turned out being a fairy was much more exciting. I got to wave a wand around, have little wings, dance, sing. It's like, oh, this is much more exciting. And so I did, some more chorus work, and it's like, I want to be at the front of the stage. Let's try that. So that, of course, led to acting lessons, and it just, continued from there. And then I was really excited when I found voiceover, because I get to combine my acting and my singing skills. And that's something I really enjoy.
That's really cool. Like each creative path kind of opens doors to new creative paths.
Yes.
It's really cool. And I know about the black dress. I remember concert band. I did concert band all through college, and it was the long black, and then recitals and everything, the long black velvet skirts and the white rustly blouses. So familiar with that costume?
Yeah.
So of all the things, what do you love the absolute best about the things you do? Like what gets you like really, really fired up?
I really love doing character work, and just coming up with, actually the voice of the anteater, I had to figure out for a children's book that I narrated. There were 10 different animals that I needed to voice in the book. And the author wanted them to be each very specific. And some, like a snake is those are fairly easy, but it's like, okay, what would an anteater sound like?
Yeah. Don't they have like really pinched beaks or something like that, or faces? Wouldn't it be like a pinchy sound? Or I don't know what an anteater looks like actually.
Actually, they have very long tongues, so they talk like this.
Oh. Oh my goodness. This takes some imagination to figure it out. What would this thing sound like? I didn't even know what a snake would sound like outside of like Harry Potter talking like a snake in that one. I thought it was my only reference on that one.
Yeah. So that's those are really fun. I was just working. I'm attached to an animation project, and I was they're working on a pilot, and so today I was screaming.
Okay. This is a very fun job you have. Screaming for money. It's fun.
Yeah, it's a wonderful, it's the wonderful variety and having to come up with. Yeah, I have to scream, but I had to come up with 3 different ways to scream, and actually the character is a guy, so it's like
3 different ways to scream as a guy. Okay.
Yeah. So it's that's the most fun, is if you're getting to do lots of characters and come up with the different ways for those characters to say things and sound real and be real to people. So
great. So then somehow all of this led into, I consider you an audiobook expert. So how were those dots connected from all of this creative work to being, you really are a type of publishing expert, as we'll talk about momentarily, in the audiobook space?
Yeah, well, audiobooks are, if an actor gets into voice acting, then audiobooks are kind of a natural segue for any actor. Because we're used to doing, it's a lot of, our dream and the fun part is doing all different kinds of characters, and you get to do that in an audiobook. So you're getting to do the most fun thing ever as an actor, be a bunch of different characters, all throughout a book. So yeah, that's, it's just natural that I would be attracted to audiobooks. I really like nonfiction too, but as an actor, getting to do all those characters and really flexing your muscles as different characters, audiobooks are just perfect for that.
So you just started kind of learning about the industry and kind of collecting data, because I believe you help people actually, you guide them in the process. You just kind of made yourself an expert in that area.
Yeah, so I just started doing it, and it's like, okay, I need to know how to edit anyway, because I have to do that with any kind of voice acting job that I do. I have to do at least some minimal editing. So I just taught myself how to do, longer bits of editing, which an audiobook requires. And then it's not as fun as voicing the books or the characters, that's for sure. But I taught myself, and then I got a lot of questions. People have a lot of questions. How do you get into audiobooks? How do you do that? And it's like, well, you do, I'm an actor, and so, but I did have specialized training in voice acting. And then I learned how to edit. It's like, well, I can teach myself to edit, books too. And then I found some ways there's a company actually here, there's in Seattle, Positron, where you can actually, they built a product that helps you proof and edit books that you're voicing. So that made the editing process a lot simpler. Once I was actually a tester for them when they first got started.
So when you're you talk about guiding, I think that's one of the things you do when you're helping an author through the audiobook process. What kind of things, how does that journey look? What kind of things do you help authors who want to create audiobooks? How do you help them?
Well, I talked to them about, we start out with, why do you want to narrate? I've actually written a little course on this out on Listenable, IO. You can find it out there. You can also find the first chapter of the course on my YouTube page. And I start out with, really why do you want to narrate? So we can first, I think they need to understand the expectations and how much work it actually is to narrate, because you're either sitting or standing in front of a mic for hours at a time. And so we go over that, what it actually takes, what you can expect. Go over, work with them actually on narration. Just take a little bit of your book and I want to hear you narrate it. And I find that speakers, people who speak, or teachers, educators, really, a lot of them can get up to speed. They sound really good, just because that's, part of what they do. But if you have a speaker that has a tendency to speak too fast anyway, it's like, you need to slow down. So just, pacing is a big thing in audiobooks, getting the pacing right. So we spend a lot of time on pacing. And even if, I know you wrote the book, but do you know how to pronounce all those words?
Oh, yeah, written is definitely different.
It's like, you quoted that author. Do you know how to correctly pronounce their name? You would be surprised. I had an author stumble over that. They quoted another author and had no idea how to pronounce their name.
Oh, I totally get that. I mean, just choosing, usually with episodes here on the show, my regular listeners know, I have a quote of the day, and I will so often choose quotes based on whose name I can pronounce. But if there's a quote I really like, But if there's a quote I really like and I don't know how to pronounce their name, I find the internet is very helpful. I listen to a few, they have like YouTube videos on how to pronounce people's names, but I try to be very careful about that here on the show to be aware of who I'm quoting and how to pronounce their name.
Yeah, so that's a big reminder that, it's amazing what you thought you were pronouncing correctly all these years and you're not. Because I still run into that all the time. It's like, well, I've been pronouncing that. Yeah.
So you guide people, so you help them make the decision as to whether they would want to narrate their own book, or the other option, I assume, would be to hire a voice performer. So this is like a kind of a decision that you help them make and guide them through.
Yeah. Help them make, guide them through. I talk with them about, if they have any questions about signing up for ACX, or because they do have to, if they do their own audio book, or they need to sign up for Audible, and that's through acx.com. Or we also go over, do you want to think about one of the other platforms like Findaway? Because you've got a lot more leeway with pricing your audiobook on Findaway. Audible, you're pretty much stuck with what they say it will sell for. So, yeah.
Choices you help people navigate. And so what's happening in the front lines of audiobook? I know you're very good about, by the way, everybody, Kris is very active in my Inc. authors group on Facebook. I frequently tag her in things, and she posts a lot of great content about, really what's happening with audiobooks these days. So, Kris, what's happening with audiobooks these days?
Well, it continues. Audiobooks continue to grow. There is an Audio Publishers Association, the APA, and they publish information regularly on sales and what's happening out there. They're reporting the 10th straight year of double-digit growth in audiobooks this year. Yeah. So it only continues to grow. It's a $1.6 billion market now. And let's see.
Data. Yeah.
Yeah. And as far as different genres, it looks like science fiction, fantasy, and mysteries, thrillers, suspense are some of the top categories. And but romance and fiction are also very popular. And children and young adult are increasing. Yeah.
Interesting.
So, that's what it continues to be a growing market for sure. Yeah.
So what, obviously, someone was on the fence about producing their book as an audiobook because, I think most authors are saying, yeah, I totally see print book and ebook, but why should I be, considering an audiobook? So you'd give them those statistics. And what else might you say to an author who's just kind of on the fence about expanding their book to an audiobook format?
There is a lot of people listening, and there's a lot of people out there that prefer to listen, and so you're missing out on people that might be your fans. They're not going to hear you because they're not reading, they're listening. And so it's a great way to grow your fan base.
Absolutely. And I'm just thinking of my book here because I was looking how many pages are in my memoir, The Power of the Curve. I want to go back to what you were talking about, recording yourself. And I mean, recording for a very long time. I mean, just doing this podcast, for an hour or two every week to do all my weekly episodes. How long would it take me? Like, my book is about 250 pages. Like, how do you break that out? Like, what would those sessions be like for me?
Do you know the word count?
It's something around like 60,000 words, I believe.
60,000 words. Okay. That's it's the word count that tells you about how long your book will be in audio. Yeah. And that is going to be over 6 hours. Probably about 6.2. Yeah. So you're talking about at least 6 hours of standing in front of the mic.
So
it'll be more than that.
3 weeks of podcasts. Yeah. Well, that's good to know.
And that's just getting it recorded. That's just getting it recorded. Then the editing, mastering process, it's another at least 3 to 4 hours per hour of narration.
Yeah, I was just looking at the speaking part because saying, do people typically do the 6 hours in one session? I think that would be very difficult to maintain my
that would be,
voice and my concentration.
Yeah, you need to break it up. It just depends on your concentration and focus. I would say, at least a couple sessions of 3 hours or more. Yeah, or maybe 3 sessions. Yeah, to make it easier, especially if you're not used to narrating that long a time. So I would say 3 sessions. Yeah.
Hopefully this is helpful information. Just using my book as an example, but really wanting to provide, just some specific information for people listening who are thinking about turning their book into audiobooks. So, like, if you had to make some predictions, do you have any predictions about what's coming next in the audiobook space? Do you have any kind of like 5-year prophecies?
Oh boy.
I know, putting people on the spot.
I think it's just going to continue to grow. I think podcasting and audiobooks are growing closer. That is something that's already happening. And I think you'll see probably more podcasts who are, and in fact, I did I did narrate some stories for a podcast that's basically, longer audio stories. So I think you'll see more podcasts that are longer audio stories that are more like audiobooks. Yeah.
That's interesting, the parallels between those spaces. Well, that is
Yeah.
awesome information. And of course, finally, given the theme of this show, habits, your daily writing habit, what are your very best success habits? It doesn't have to be writing, but any kind of creativity, but what are your best habits for success in your daily work?
Planning out my week, planning out my day, and definitely not working very hard not to overschedule myself. That's really easy to do. And I use an app called Todoist. I find that's really helpful.
Write that one down.
And it's nice to check off the list, but I also find it helps you keep your list, sort of pared down, because you realize quite quickly that if you, scheduled too much.
Mm-hmm.
And then also I sometimes I just got so much going on. It's like I don't have to remember every little detail because I've got it written down and it just automatically comes up. So, because stuffing too much in is not good. Yeah.
Absolutely. I was just talking to one of my book coaching clients this morning about why I'm such a fan of the time boxing technique, because that really, it makes you, rather than just having the things to do list and saying, I hope it all gets done, time boxing makes you actually assign time slots. And once you're out of time slots, that's the end of your things to do list, because if there's not a time to schedule something, then it's not going to get done because it can't get done in metaphorical, abstract time.
Yes, that's very true. Yeah.
Like where is this going on your schedule? All right, so this has been great. Thank you. And Kris, and where's the best place? Do you have like a landing page, or is there a great centralized location where people can learn about your work and connect with you?
Yeah, that's my website, www.kriskeppeler.com. That's KEPPELER.
Perfect. And does your IMDb page, does that link from there as well?
Yeah, I believe it does, yes.
Okay, perfect. We're just going to send people there. I love when people have landing pages based on their brand. It just makes life so much easier. Hint, hint to authors out there who are going to be publishing books and creating brands. Just your name is a website. That's a great central location, as opposed to sending people to 5 different social media sites and everything like that. So I like that you did it that way.
Yes. And it's Kris with a K. So yes, KRIS.
And I'm going to put this in the show note. I'll put it in the show notes as well. I think I have everybody trained pretty well at this point to visit the show notes every day. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today, Kris. Just lots of great information for authors.
Thank you. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. And thank you all for joining us here on Your Daily Writing Habit, where I am helping you write and finish writing an awesome book. Speaking of the show notes, I always put my link to my Inc. Authors group on Facebook so you can connect with other authors like yourself. And check the show notes. And until tomorrow, happy writing.